Welcome into Sports by GSMC Podcast Network. I'm your host, Jeremy Lapidus. Today is NFL Draft Day. We have a big show. We have our third and final NFL mock draft. We have quarterback breakdowns, where they might go, possible trades up and down the entire first round, and then we will break down a little bit of NBA action from last night as well at the end. But let's just go ahead and get right into it. But before we do, remember, if you would like to be an even bigger part of the show than you already are, all you need to do is go to gsmcpodcast.net. Leave a tip or donation at the link on the screen right now. That message will pop up on the bottom of the screen for you, me, and everybody else around the world to see. We appreciate anything that you do give, and we appreciate all of you for sticking around and watching. But like I was saying, we have a lot to talk about today. The NFL Draft is here. It'll start in just a couple hours from now. But let's get right into it. NFL Draft Day. We take a look at all of the NFL offseason that has led up to this moment. This moment where you have the entire world looking at the next stars of the league, and this draft class is no different. It's very stacked at a lot of very, very good positions. We'll break down the quarterbacks in the second segment, but we're just going to do a full mock draft here in the first. I got all 32 picks. I'll explain some stuff. We got some trades. We'll talk about even more potential trades as the show goes on. It is going to be a big NFL draft show, though. So let's just start right into it. Number one overall pick, what I have for you, is the Bears at number one, taking Caleb Williams. This is not a very controversial pick. This has been in the cards since the beginning of the draft. This has been a lock for the longest time. If they go anywhere else, I think the entire world will lose their minds. Caleb Williams is a lock at number one. He is going to be a special talent. He's the best quarterback in this class. And there's a lot of really good quarterbacks in this class. But where it starts to get interesting is at 2 with the Commanders. We've had a lot of different conflicting reports. All season they have been the team that's on Jaden Daniels. They have been the team that loves Jaden Daniels. And then all this stuff with their agent comes out. And you have an interesting predicament, because Drake May had been before the whole college football season started. If you did a way too early draft, he was that number 2 guy. He was supposed to go number 2 this whole time. It was Caleb 1, Drake May 2, but then season happens, draft happens, Heisman winning happens for Jaden Daniels. He climbs up the board at number 2. There's been some smokescreen for a guy like J.J. McCarthy to go here. There's a lot of things that the Commanders can do, and they've been kept pretty tight-lipped. I do think at the end of the day, they are going to end up taking Jaden Daniels. Jaden Daniels is still, the one that has been rumored to them this whole time. Just because the agent doesn't like it doesn't mean that the Commanders don't need to take the guy that is their favorite. You want in this situation, regardless of your relationship with an agent, you can always get a new agent. Pick the guy that you think is the best. And if they really think that Jaden Daniels is that best possible option for them, then go out and get Jaden Daniels. Don't worry about whatever the rest of the league is thinking. And it would be a very Commanders thing to do. I have them taking Jaden Daniels there at 2, which leads to an interesting scenario. Not one that I have happening, but there has been talks of the Patriots trading out of that number 3 spot. And if Drake May is available at 3, it's going to be a bit of a bidding war. The Giants could trade up, and I would love that as a Giants fan to go get Drake May at 3. You'd have to give up probably a first, your 6th pick, and a future first, so it would probably be 2 picks package. And I don't think the Patriots would trade out of the top 10, but the Vikings might be able to put together a package to move up to 3. The Broncos might be able to put up a package to move up to 3. Or maybe they don't really want Jaden Daniels, they want J.J. McCarthy, which has been the rumor surrounding those guys. There's a lot of trade movement that can happen in the top 5. The Chargers could trade out of there at number 5, depending on how this draft goes. But I'm going to keep the top 3 the same. I'm going to keep the Patriots taking Drake May. It's going to be tough to pass up on a guy like that. But when you are at that top 3 pick, you have a chance to get a quarterback like a Drake May, have him fall into your lap. I think that's just the right move. So the Patriots taking him at 3. And now the Cardinals. Again, we talk about all these trades that could happen, and we'll break down more of them and what I think it would take to do that in a second. But Marvin Harrison is just a bust-proof talent. He's a very special talent, very special kid, and I have the Cardinals taking him there at 4. It's not something that I think is worth trading. You have Kyler Murray. You have a defense that wasn't the greatest, but they played tough. And you add a Marvin Harrison Jr. to that team. You remember how much better that offense was just at the end of the season when they got Kyler back. Once he has a weapon he can throw to, it's going to be much, much better for the Cardinals this season. And here's where I see the first trade. The Vikings make a big swing and move up to 5, trading with the Chargers, who otherwise would probably have taken Joe Alt there. And there's plenty of other offensive tackles, offensive linemen later in the draft. I have them trading 2 firsts, the 2 firsts that they have, to move up to number 5 and get their guy at quarterback. They get J.J. McCarthy. I am not a J.J. McCarthy fan, and I'll say that with my chest. I will say that loud and proud. Although, this is the one exception, because if there is anywhere in this entire league that he can succeed, that he can plug and play and be a successful quarterback, it is in Minnesota. You put him in Washington, it's going to be a disaster. You put him in Chicago, it'll be a disaster. You put him in New England, it'll be a disaster. But you give him the weapons, the TJ Hawkinson, the Justin Jefferson, the Jordan Addison, that offensive line, Aaron Jones in the backfield, he can have success in Minnesota. That play calling under Kevin O'Connell, it is probably the only place in the league that would make sense for J.J. McCarthy to go to, that it would work out in. So for J.J. McCarthy's sake, I'm never going to root against a guy. For J.J. McCarthy's sake, I hope he ends up in Minnesota. Because if he doesn't end up in Minnesota, he's going to be a bust, especially if all this hype he's getting keeps him in the top 10, keeps him in the top 5. If he goes to the New York Giants at 6, it's going to be a disaster for the Giants, for J.J. McCarthy. If he goes, Broncos at 12, it's going to be a disaster for him, for the Broncos. It's just a mess. So the Vikings, I think, are going to trade up and get their guy at 5, make sure that no one's going to come in from behind and steal the guy that they love. All reports are they love J.J. McCarthy. So having that pick there, I have them trading up. That's the first pick in the first trade of this draft that I have going on. And that gives us to 6. The Giants, without having J.J. McCarthy or any of those top 4 quarterbacks on the board, take a wide receiver, that being Malik Neighbors. His explosiveness is something that Brian Daboll is going to love, especially with the way that the team is set up. You just lost your big explosive player in Saquon Barkley, and now you get the most explosive player in the draft in Malik Neighbors at 6. You get him going on a slant route, give him the ball, get him the ball in space. His creativity on offense paired with Malik Neighbors, Brian Daboll could do a lot of great things with Malik Neighbors. So I have him going at 6 to the Giants, which leaves the best offensive tackle in the draft to fall all the way to 7. A guy that could theoretically go as high as 4 or 5. Joe Alt is one of the best offensive tackle prospects. He's 6'9", 285 pounds, and he is an athlete. He is really good. We've just saw Penei Sewell get paid, and he's a good comp, I think, for Joe Alt. Joe Alt is a little bit bigger, but he's going to be just as productive as Penei Sewell, who's just coming off an all-pro team. He could come in and be all-pro, have that kind of impact day one. So, Titans, they get a really good one at number 7. And the Falcons are going to take the first defensive player of the draft at the board. I've heard a lot of things connecting them to Dallas Turner. It's kind of cooled down as of late. Liatu Latu is a guy I've heard, but Byron Murphy maybe. They're going to get a pass rusher. I have him mocked with Dallas Turner, the Alabama guy, staying in the SEC country, moving over a state to Georgia, playing for Atlanta. He's going to be a big time pass rusher, the SEC Defensive Player of the Year. He's going to be really good. And I think any of these top pass rushers at the top are going to be really good. And the Bears at number 9 finish off their dream draft, getting Rome Odunze, who is my second favorite receiver in this draft behind Marvin Harrison. You get him, his elite size and speed and jump ball ability on the outside is going to be huge for Caleb Williams. You need just to throw a ball up there, throw it to Rome Odunze. There isn't a better guy in all of college right now. He's winning these balls 70-30. 70% of the time he's winning these balls. It's very, very impressive to see just how good of a prospect he is and what he's able to accomplish. But Rome Odunze is a very special talent, and the Bears pair him with Keenan Allen, who they acquired this offseason. They pair him with, DJ Moore, who they acquired last offseason. That is one of the best receiving cores in all of football. You now have a 3-headed monster, and you add Cole Kmet on there on the inside, who's no slouch himself. You get that around a quarterback who has all the potential in the world in Caleb Williams, and the Bears could go. I don't think they're going to be a playoff team this season, but they could go. They could cause some serious issues. And rounding out the top 10, we've been talking about this top 10 for quite some time. I have another trade. Before yesterday, I had the Bengals trading up from 18 with the Jets, swapping firsts and giving up a third for the right to draft Brock Bowers. Brock Bowers, who is very much a special talent. He is a guy that you want to get the ball in the hands. He is Travis Kelce-esque, tight end with receiving talent. One of those special talents that can do it all. I still have a trade happening here, although since the Bengals have now the second trade request from T. Higgins and a new trade request from Trey Hendrickson, not sure if either of those guys are going to actually get traded, but they have new concerns to worry about. They have to fill in that hole in the defensive line, so I don't think they're going to go and trade for Brock Bowers anymore. I do still think a team is going to do it, because I think Brock Bowers is a guy that if he falls past 10, it's going to be... he's not going to get past 11, especially in this mock where I have the Chargers picking at 11. If Brock Bowers can fall to them, if there's a team that really wants Brock Bowers, they need to go trade ahead of the Chargers at 10. So I have the Colts making that move from 15 to 10 to grab Brock Bowers, adding him to an offense that really, aside from Michael Pittman Jr., needs another weapon. Josh Downs was a solid weapon last season. He isn't like that explosive guy, and adding another weapon there, a third guy for Anthony Richardson when he comes back, is going to be huge. So you now have our top 10 of the NFL mock draft out there. Bears 1, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels to the Commanders at 2, Drake May to the Patriots at 3, Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals at 4. The Vikings trade up to 5, giving up 11 and 23 to get J.J. McCarthy. The Giants take Malik Neighbors at 6. Titans take Joe Alt at 7. The Falcons take Dallas Turner at 8. Rome Odunze to the Bears at 9. And rounding out the top 10, the Colts trade up 5 spots for a first-round swap and a third-round pick to the Jets for Brock Bowers. That is my top 10. We're going to break down the rest of the draft in the second segment coming up. So stick around. We'll be right back on Sports by GSMC Podcast Network.